Hi, my name is Mike Rutkowski, estate planning and elder law attorney here at the Rutkowski Law Firm. What are you doing in here?
Hey Dad, you're in my chair.
In your chair? I'm not giving up my chair.
Welcome to the Rutkowski Law Firm.
Welcome to the Life Lessons channel with the Rutkowski Law Firm, where we break down the complex world of estate planning into simple, actionable steps. As an experienced estate planning attorney, Michael Rutkowski has helped countless families protect their assets, avoid costly mistakes, and create lasting legacies. Today, we'll be focused on the pitfalls of probate. And to help us uncover those pitfalls with us today, we have estate planning, Medicaid, and elder law attorney, Michael Rutkowski. Michael, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Carrie, as always.
Probate. That's why you want to avoid it, right, at all costs. But sometimes you can't. So what should people be looking out for when they end up here unexpectedly?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's probably the starting point for most families that come to us. Probate avoidance, or just avoiding the probate process, is probably the first goal. And then once they start down the rabbit hole of educating themselves about options in estate planning, they might layer on some other things like powers of attorney for when they can't make decisions for themselves. But essentially, what is probate? So every state, every county has a probate court. And what that probate court is that if someone passes away with assets in their name individually, you have to go to the probate court in order to transfer it to someone else. And what I mean by assets in their name individually, like a checking account that is in your name. Like just your name, a checking account with no beneficiary designations, nothing. That account becomes frozen when you pass away. You can't use powers of attorney or anything anymore, so it's frozen. The only way to unlock it and gain access legally is through the probate process. So you have to submit a ton of paperwork to the probate court and say, hey, there's this account. How do we transfer it? And who are we going to transfer it to? Those are some really good questions. Here's why most people want to avoid that process. It's because it's time consuming and it's expensive. Typically, if there's an asset in your name personally, a house, bank account, whatever it is, car, you're going to end up in probate. And it usually takes between 9 and 18 months with no one fighting over anything before a judge is going to release it to transfer to whoever the law or the will or whatever says it's supposed to go to.
Yeah, so if you are arguing over where things should go, I'm guessing it takes significantly longer.
As soon as everyone starts lawyering up and having their own lawyers and we're fighting over stuff, this could easily drag out 2 to 4 to 6+ years. So, and the fees associated with it are just going to go through the roof because you're, lawyer time times however many people are fighting over stuff. So it's just a lot. The time commitment for the family is a lot before you can access the assets. And a couple of reasons why that's important. There's a funeral to pay for. There's last known medical expenses. There's all these bills that are piling up. And we can't do anything about that. So what typically happens is the kids have to front all the costs for the funeral. And what parent wants that to happen unless they've done pre-planning? So the freezing of assets, plus kids always want their money as soon as possible anyways. Beneficiaries are always oh, I'm sorry, Aunt Mary passed. But it says in her trust that I get 1/3 of her stuff. So when is that coming? So it's just that the time part is huge. It's going to take between 9 and 18 months at a minimum to go through the probate court before a judge releases the funds. There's some things that have to happen there. Why the delay? It's not just the court likes to have the delay. There has to be something called notice to creditors, where we essentially send out notice to the world to say, hey, if you have a claim on this estate, you have 4 months to bring that or forever hold your peace. So that's a little part of why this process takes so long, but there's a lot of other things that need to happen and filings that need to happen and hearings and all of that. The other big concern for families is the financial commitment. So it's usually going to cost somewhere between 5 and 10% of the estate to go through the probate process. And so what does that mean? There's attorney fees, there's court costs, there's something called an inventory fee where the court is just going to total up the assets and take a percentage for their cut of administering this and the judge's time and the clerk's time and everyone's time for doing this. So it's expensive. I just do some simple math. $100,000 house is going to cost somewhere between 5 and 10% to kind of go through that process. Total up the entire assets, and it can be very, very expensive. So that's why most families are coming to us, because they've had personal experience with going through probate, and it's been time consuming, it's been expensive. The last thing I'll leave you with is just the fighting that happens amongst the family members. And here's why. Because probate is a public forum, it's a public process, everyone gets to know how much was in the estate, what there was. And during that process, you have to send out what's called notice to interested parties. Essentially, anyone who may have a claim on the estate, all family members and everything, they're going to get a letter that says, hey, Aunt Mary passed away on July 4th of this year. Well, it's going to be closed July 4th, but you get my point. On this date of this year, there's going to be a hearing in the county probate court. If you think you're entitled to any of this estate, come on down and tell us why. And that just money just does crazy things to families. I have seen so many families just torn apart fighting over assets. Everyone feels like they deserve more than maybe the will said, the trust said, whatever reason we're there. And so it just does really bad things to families. And I've seen it happen firsthand, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy if I had them. So those are probably the three biggest things: the financial commitment, the time commitment, and just the relationships that are lost because of the probate process.
Which is why it's so important to avoid the probate process at all costs. So if you would like to get an estate plan so that you too cannot go through this 2-year insanity, we are here to help. Please give us a call, 248-955-2842. We're here to guide you every step of the way. And if you want to keep learning about the ins and outs of estate planning, be sure to subscribe now to this channel and take the first step toward peace of mind, because estate planning isn't just about documents, it's about protecting your family and securing your legacy. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you as always.
My pleasure. See you next time.